is better than most. I know that yesterday was a rough day for a lot of you. I know that you had some. I don't know if you had high hopes for Hillary Clinton or if you just had hopes that you would survive Donald Trump. But no matter where you were or however you feel, I think that today and tomorrow will always be a better day if you remember who's in charge. Who's in charge of your future is you. It ain't Donald Trump. It's not Hillary Clinton. It's not Barack Obama. It's not your pastor. It's not MC Hammer. It's you. You, as a person of color, have the power to shape your future. And I was thinking that would be the most appropriate conversation to have today, based on what I have been seeing. I've been seeing just a lot of just hopelessness, fear. Fear is big. The Democrats play you with fear. The Republicans, they won the election with fear. A lot of people operate on fear. And if you study fear and you know what it does to your body, you realize that it's not healthy to live in constant fear. It's just not. It's not good for you. It's not going to make you a better or stronger person. It makes you that much more of a coward. It makes you that much more of a slave. Because what happens is when you live in fear, you have your only desire that you hope for is not prosperity. It's not to thrive. It is pretty much just to survive. And the way you survive is by committing yourself to various forms of slavery so that you can find a sugar daddy that will protect you from all the craziness that's happening around you, all the things that make you afraid. So I'm not making fun of anybody who feels that way. I'm not saying that it's not natural to feel that way. Fear is very natural. A lot of us have fear. I was writing about that today. I was writing the foreword for my next book, The New Black Power 2. In case you're interested, I do have my other book, The New Black Power, which came out a couple months ago, and it's available at thenewblackpower.com if you want to take a look. And one of the things I was writing about, as I was putting together the foreword, is I started reflecting on life. And before I dig into that, if you're on Facebook, if you're on my Facebook page, let me know if you can hear me and you can see me, because I want to make sure the audio and the video are good and all that stuff. But anyway, I was actually writing about a time in my life where, everything wasn't always peachy keen. I get real upset, not too upset, but just kind of upset, or I have to check people when they come to me with this stuff like, oh, Dr. Boyce, it's easy for you. It's easy for you to say that. You doing good. You rich. Things are easy for you. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. Do you understand that there was a point where, okay, let's see. Shell says, I could not hear you on Facebook. Okay, let me see. Let me check the people on Facebook. Okay, I see. Check. Okay, you're good. Okay, Anthony says I'm good. Okay, so Porsche says she could hear me on Facebook. All right. So anyway, let me just tell you this. Let me finish, the story here. So I have people that literally will think that my whole life, everything's been easy. That I've always been in a good financial situation. That things just sort of land on my lap. And I say, well, actually, when I was 28. I was homeless. Technically, if homeless is defined as not knowing where the fuck you're gonna sleep that night, then yes, I was homeless, and I had to leave my apartment. I had to break the lease because I couldn't pay the money, and I had to leave in the middle of the night. And I had also lost a lot that year. I had a woman that I really loved. She went to marry somebody else, and that broke my heart. She had a son. I loved her son, and that was gone. So I kind of lost my family. I'd lost my, I'd lost my scholarship. I'd lost my income. I'd lost a lot. I'll just say that, and it was a tough time. Somebody said, oh, well, don't be feeling sorry for me. I'm sorry. I'm not very good at self-pity. I'm not very good at feeling sorry for myself. So I don't want y'all feeling sorry for me either. So I'm telling you this story because I want you to hear it, not because I'm looking for any pity. So I need you to understand that. And I remember, sort of going through all of that. and making kind of a rugged decision, like just a, steely determination. I remember I kind of hit a like a fork in the road. I remember the fork in the road was, okay, because I had been depressed and everything. It was a tough year. I ain't gonna lie. Even my friends didn't want to talk to me because every time I got on the phone, I probably sounded like, like the saddest person in the world. But I hit a fork in the road, and I said, Boyce, I said, okay, are you going to sit here and lay here like a bitch and feel sorry for yourself? Are you going to let this situation kill you? Or are you going to just stand up and move forward and fight back? And I made a decision. I said, hell no, I'm going to fight back. So I got up, and I remember crawling out of bed. I had been in bed for a long time. I literally was in bed for like 2 weeks. And I got up and I started doing exercises, push-ups and sit-ups in the bathroom, like literally right next to the toilet, just doing sit-ups. Because I'd read that exercise helps you in your mood, helps you feel better. And I started thinking positively. And I also started reflecting on everything in life. I reflected on relationships. I reflected on my academic situation while I wasn't getting through my PhD program. I got my PhD now, but that was a time where I didn't think I was ever going to get it. I started reflecting on white people and racism and how these motherfuckers I worked with every day were treating me badly and there was nothing I could do about it. And I said, this ain't going to happen to me. You're not going to make me your slave. You're not going to tear me down. I'm too strong for you right now, sucker. This ain't going to work. And I remember I came up with my own version of the Holy Ghost. I didn't go to church, but I had the Holy Ghost. And I realized that at that moment, I realized just how much of my outcomes, how much of my life was determined by me and my attitude and my approach on things. You attack me, I'm going to counterattack you 10 times harder than you came at me because I know I can do it. And I know that it's all a matter of making that decision that it's going to happen. And at that moment, that's when Dr. Boyce Watkins was born. Dr. Boyce Watkins was not born the day that I got my PhD. He was not born that day. He was born during that moment when I was sort of at that really low point. And again, I'm talking about moving out your apartment in the middle of the night with everything you own in a van, and literally barely with enough money to buy gas to get you to where you need to go. I had to drive to Ohio, and the van was so packed, the van was so full that I had my basketball on the dashboard. My basketball was on the dashboard because I didn't have anywhere in the van to put the basketball. I couldn't believe it. I said, there's got to be a place in this van other than for this basketball, other than the dashboard. But I had to drive. I didn't want to get rid of my basketball because I played a lot of basketball back in the day. So I just drove. I was driving like this, and I remember just kind of going through that and realizing, okay, at that moment, all I kind of really had was hope. That was all I had at that moment. I didn't have, anything. I didn't have much to hold on to. I didn't have no money. I ain't had no scholarship. I didn't have no place to live. I didn't have no woman. I didn't have nothing but hope. That was all I had was hope. And hope in that particular situation, hope was a powerful thing for me. I think hope is a problem. Hope can be addictive and manipulative, though. I think politicians feed you hope. That's why I don't like those sons of bitches. If somebody was asking me, they said something stupid. They say, well, Dr. Boyce, I bet you're happy that Trump got elected because you were telling black people not to vote, and you'll probably get a call from the Trump White House to be a part of their economic policy team. And I said, well, number one, I'm not going to talk to Trump. I said Obama's people used to call me, and I hung the phone up on that guy eventually because he was actually insulting. Not just me, but I felt he was insulting the black community because he kept calling me to try to get me to go along with whatever they were trying to do, doing what the New York Times called, and this is what they attribute to them losing the election. The New York Times actually called it trickle-down liberalism. And I said that is a brilliant term. Trickle-down liberalism is where the white liberals take control of everything. They use your vote to get elected. Then they do whatever the fuck they want to do. And then they tell you, oh, well, but if we do this for everybody, it's going to trickle down to the Negroes. If we improve all the schools, it'll trickle down to your schools. If we improve the whole economy, it'll trickle down to the black unemployment rate. And none of that shit was working. None of that worked. None of it worked. So If I wasn't going to talk to Obama's guy, what the hell makes you think I want to talk to Trump's people? No, I don't want to talk to Donald Trump. And no, I never told black people not to vote. I never told black people not to vote. But here's how deep the slavery runs. Here's how deep the psychological manipulation runs. I was considered a threat not because I went and told black people not to vote. I did like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick never said, don't vote. Colin Kaepernick simply said, my right as an American is to withhold my vote if I don't feel that either party is offering me anything of value. That's what Colin said, and I agree with Colin. I don't know if Colin was following my cue or I followed his, or I didn't follow his. I didn't even know he had this position until actually last night. But the fact of the matter is, I simply said, make your own decision. And the fact that I became a threat because I told black people to think for themselves and make their own decision inherently and fundamentally implies that there were people who were threatened by the idea of you thinking for yourself. When people talk about your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote and all this other stuff, they died for you to have the right to vote. They did not die for you to have the obligation to vote for candidates that you don't feel comfortable supporting. They did not die for you to trade one kind of slavery for another kind of slavery. They didn't die for that. They didn't die to say, oh, well, you know what? This slavery is bad. We want y'all to have another kind of slavery where you going to do what Miss Hillary say. No matter what, no matter how corrupt Miss Hillary is, and no matter how much she ignores you, and no matter how much she ruined the election by stealing the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders. They didn't talk about that. Now, I'm not one of these people running around, you got these crazy white folks talking about lock her up. No, I'm not into all that. I don't want to, again, I don't know. I personally think there are things she probably could be locked up for, but I'm not getting involved in that conversation. But what I will say is that there was clear proof that there was undeniable extreme corruption in the Democratic National Committee, but also there was corruption on the Republican side, right? Think about this. This is really coming back to you black folks in terms of really understanding the kinds of obstacles that you face as you move forward. See, black people feel like somehow our destiny is shaped by what the power brokers want to do. Dr. Boyce, if we build a Black Wall Street, they're gonna try to stop it. So we probably shouldn't even try because they're gonna try to stop it. Yeah, they're gonna try to stop it. White people try to stop each other when they're taking away power. When Bernie Sanders tried to take away Hillary Clinton's power, they stopped it, right? When Barack Obama was taking Hillary's power back in 2008, they were doing everything in their power to stop it. When Donald Trump tried to take over the Republican Party, believe me, the Republicans did everything they could to try to stop it. So the point is, the fact of the matter is that no one in this country, no powerful person in this nation will ever give power away freely. It's time for us as a community. It's time for us to put on our big boy pants and our big girl pants and stop being political children. Now, what does that mean? What I mean by that is a lot of y'all feel, and this is where the fear is driving a lot of the way that we vote and the way that we spend money and the way that we do everything, the way that we invest, the way that we decide how to make our money. Fear drives so much of who we are in this country. So what fear does is it causes you to think, you know what? I'm just scared to try to control my own destiny because if I do it, white folks is going to be mad at me and they probably going to try to stop it. They going to hurt me. Right? So fear causes you to, instead of going out and striking on your own and fighting for your own destiny, what fear causes you to do is huddle up behind some powerful white person who protects you from the thing that you fear the most. Y'all wasn't voting for Hillary because you had a desire for a better America. Y'all weren't voting for Hillary because you really believed in the core of your heart that somehow Black America was going to be improved under yet another Democratic regime. You didn't do that. That's not why you got in line at the polls and stood in line all day. You stood in line all day because you were mortified. They had trained you to be mortified of what Donald Trump was going to do to you if he got into the White House. They scared the living shit out of you. And that's why you voted for Hillary Clinton. And I'm going to tell you like this. Here's my feeling about fear. Everybody feels fear. Every day there's not a day I wake up where there's not something that makes me afraid. There is always something that makes me afraid. Everything from death to illness, to the things that I say, to what's going on with my children, to economic challenges, all kind. There's not a day I wake up without a fear or a concern or something that has me saying, man, I need to do a woosah real quick. I need to calm myself down and woosah my way through the day. There's not a day where that doesn't happen. But one thing that I decided is this. I might have fear in somewhere in my spirit, but fear will never guide my actions. Fear might be in the car, but I'm going to put the fear in the trunk. Fear will not be allowed to occupy the driver's seat. So there is that old saying that you feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, I want to encourage you right now today, because you need it right now, because a lot of y'all scared. A lot of y'all woke up, probably had nightmares, probably got hangovers, was up all night talking to your friends about how the world was going to come to an end and how horrible this is and everything else. So right now, I'm here to tell you that you cannot let fear define your choices or your actions or the direction of you, your family, or your community, because the only people that can have the power to control the outcomes of black people are black people. That's it. I mean, seriously, think about it. They've been trying to kill you for 400 years and it hasn't worked yet. Go to headsofhate.com, headsofhate.com. And we put together in the Black History School, we have a whole series of videos on everything every American president in history has done to harm black people, going back to George Washington making laws saying that if you escape from his plantation and you give birth to a baby, that baby's going to be a slave until they die. George Washington did this. We've had 5 presidents who were members of the Ku Klux Klan. So if we can survive all of that, then Donald Trump is actually easy. In fact, the Middle Passage, you survive. You are the descendants of the survivors of the Middle Passage, one of the worst atrocities in all of human history, 10 times worse than the Nazi Holocaust. And so only the strong survive things like that. Read Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. Read that book, Black Labor, White Wealth. You need to start reading Claude Anderson so you stop feeling sorry for yourself. That's what happens. I lose a lot of friends because I just tell them, I'm like, look, I'm sorry. I'm just not that good at self-pity. I'm not that good at feeling sorry for myself. I can't join you in your pity party. There's too much work to be done for me to be sitting around feeling bad about what white folks done did to me and what white folks won't let me have. I'll be goddamn it. If you want something in this world, you got to go take it. And that's what you want to really seriously. I'm not telling you to give props to Trump or nothing. I'm not telling you to like this guy, but don't tell me for 1 second that he didn't go in there and take the shit that he wanted. Donald Trump knows that you think he's a bastard. He knows that you heard him talk about grabbing women's pussies. He knows that you know about his long 30-year track record of all kinds of corruption and insanity and stupid things that he's done. But he went in there and he took that motherfucking election because he organized his people and he fought for what he wanted. And that's what black people have to learn how to do. Stop cowering in fear and hoping that somebody's going to come along and give you the things that you want, the things you deserve, because they're not going to give it to you, and they're going to make it real hard for you to get it. They're going to be crooked. They're going to be dirty. The people you think are your friends are really going to be your enemies. And the only thing that black people, I think, can gain from this Trump presidency, in my opinion, I don't know. I didn't vote for this guy. I don't support this guy. I don't like this guy. I don't care much about this guy. But the only thing that I think the community can gain from this Trump presidency is the fact that you now know for sure that you clearly have an enemy in the White House. He's not holding anything back and telling you that he ain't got no respect for you. He don't care nothing about what you want. He only understands power. When people only understand power, they only listen when you kick them upside the head and you force them to do what you want them to do. So the only thing that black people can benefit from with a Trump presidency is that you know you have an enemy in the White House, whereas in the Obama presidency, you thought you had a friend in the White House, but I can tell you as an insider that you did not have a friend. You had a Democratic Party that treats you in a very paternalistic fashion. That we know what's best for the Negroes, and we also know the Negroes have such low standards that we can feed them shit every day, and they're gonna think that they just got some cookies and milk. They're really gonna think that the shit that we're feeding them is an actual meal, because if we don't feed them, nobody else will. That's why they didn't win the election. They did with this trickle-down liberalism. This trickle-down liberalism, where somehow liberals think that if they do what they want to do, that all they then got to do is shape it so that black people will eat whatever they're feeding them, right? So I'm sorry, so don't, let's make sure we don't get this twisted about why this election was lost. And I bet you this is happening right now. I bet the Democrats are stunned, and after they finish sort of being woozy and dizzy from the knockout punch they took from the other side, they're going to go back to the drawing board and do the calculations and say, where did we go wrong? And in one of those calculations, they're going to say, well, you know what? One area where I think we went wrong is that we ignored black voters. Black voters, they were excited about Obama. If Obama had been running, if it had been Barack or Michelle, we'd have President Michelle Obama right now. We'd have another President Barack Obama, because black people would have shown up in droves. But because they know Hillary's track record of what she's done to black men, because they know how the Democratic Party has ignored them, a lot of black people just gave up. They weren't excited. Do you know how many people I know? Do you know how many people I know who used to love Barack Obama? I mean, practically worshiped this guy back in 2008, who got to the point where they were like, I'm done with it. I don't care. My hope is gone. These politicians, they all lie to you. So you can't keep doing that and expect people to enthusiastically support you. Let me give you, somebody asked for my email address. I'm going to give you my email address in case anybody wants to do business or reach out, or, some people want me to come speak somewhere. Some people want to talk about advertising with us, or they want to talk about taking a class, or they want to get consultation or whatever. Write this down. Somebody type it in if you're listening. My email address is boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com. You'll get an autoresponder right back, but don't throw it away. In the autoresponder, there's detailed information about everything you need to know to get in touch with us and everything else. Also, if you'd like a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, you can go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. And also we do have an introductory wealth building class for those who want to learn how to build economic strength in their families and in their communities, who want to build Black Wall Streets, who want to build businesses. I believe that this pooling our money and building business will do more for black people than pooling our votes ever could. And this is not my quote. This actually comes from the book Men of Mark. A brother wrote this in about 120 years ago. 120 years ago. An ex-slave, a very well-educated ex-slave, I got to find his name, from Dr. Kevin Cosby. But this ex-slave literally said that black people will gain far more by pooling their money than they'll ever gain by pooling their votes. And I think that's a really powerful thing for somebody to say over 100 and something years ago, back when hope was far lower. There was a lot less hope to go around then than there is now. I mean, you think you got it hard in 2016? Imagine if this was 1916. When Birth of a Nation was out and you had white people going around lynching black people left and right. So stop feeling sorry for yourself and understand that your ancestors, they didn't just die for you to have the right to vote. They also died for you to have the right to be free, and the right for you to determine your free will, and the right for you to fight for what you want without fear of somebody coming in and lynching all of y'all. Anyway, let me say this. When you talk about the future, and you talk about the community, and I'm looking at here. I had some stuff I wanted to mention or bring up. One thing I want to analyze, or I was thinking about, was this with this election. The interesting thing about Donald Trump being elected was that he's really the first reality TV star to be elected president. And I think what that says, just from a purely analytical standpoint, is that we now have a country where things like reality TV shape the dynamic. I think Van Jones made the point very well on CNN, where he was talking about social media and how social media shapes opinions, how it creates these stars overnight. Even myself, a lot of y'all wouldn't know about me if it wasn't for social media, because I just came out and I said I want to be a scholar and use social media as a way to connect with black people. and so, what I think this is going to do, and I think the way this election kind of shook everything up, is it's going to lead other celebrities, other social media stars, and people like that to consider running for president. And now Angie Tweets is asking me, do I think Trump will have Hillary arrested? I don't know if he's going to have Hillary arrested. I think that takes us into a space that we don't want to go as a country. It makes our country into one of those totalitarian regimes where you win the election and then you go have your political enemies all arrested. I think Donald Trump, unfortunately, again, because he doesn't have the temperament to be president, I wouldn't be surprised if his corruption was greater than even the most corrupt presidents. I do know that exacting political revenge is something that everybody does when they get in the White House. The Obamas did that. The Obama administration, when they got elected, there were certain people, I know it definitely in the black community, that they froze out of any meaningful conversations, any meaningful interaction when it came to black people. And that was Jesse Jackson, Cornel West, because Cornel had criticized Barack, and a couple other people. And so, but the difference, I think, is that, I don't think they necessarily went as far as locking people up all the time. Although Jesse Jackson's son, you remember Jesse Jackson's son went to prison. And I personally, again, my opinion based on what I've seen, what I've read, who I've talked to, is that if President Obama had wanted Jesse Jackson's son to not go to prison, he could have kept him out of prison. Because if you recall, before Obama got elected, Jesse Jackson's son was one of Obama's, staunchest allies. He was a close advisor to Obama. He even threw his own daddy under the bus to get Obama elected. So I was really surprised to see them let Jesse Jr. go to prison. Now, somebody asked, is my event with Jay Morrison in Pittsburgh next week going to be on Periscope? I don't know if we can do it on Periscope. I haven't talked to the organizers. But anything's possible. I mean, if I got my phone and it's charged up, then, why not? So if you are in Pittsburgh, yeah, I will be there. I wish I could find the post. If you go to my Instagram, if you're from that area, if you go to Instagram, you can, find my, here we go. Sorry, you can find the information. The information is it's the Pittsburgh Black Economic Empowerment Summit. Jay Morrison, Mr. Real Estate, is going to be there. The phone number is 724-205-9376. That's 724-205-9376. 724-205-9376. And actually next year we're actually planning. We've got a tour planning team for next year. We did over 40 cities this year. Speaking on Black economic empowerment and wealth building. Next year, I want to do at least maybe 50 or 60 cities. So I've now got somebody actually putting together a complete tour schedule. So very soon we'll probably come to your city or somewhere nearby. I'll let you know. This year we were literally just learning how to go on tour. Again, because I believe so deeply in self-sufficiency. One of the things that I didn't enjoy when it came to speaking, is I didn't enjoy waiting around for somebody to call me and invite me in to speak. Again, because I'd end up having to speak for white folks who couldn't understand my message. But they would pay a lot of money, but I would end up having to say things that made them very uncomfortable. Or I would have to sort of just wait for things to happen. I'm a big believer in proactive thinking. This is what we teach in the Black Wealth Bootcamp. This is what we teach, in Black Money 101. When you talk about shaping your destiny, you can't sort of wait for somebody to open the door and give you permission. It's not going to happen. Somebody saying this dude is acting like a Trump supporter. Whatever. Fuck you, man. I ain't nobody paying attention to your bullshit. So here's the thing. Proactive thinking is what gets you what you want. If you look at, anybody, if you look at how Obama took the White House, do you think anybody actually, do you think anybody gave Obama permission to be president? Do you think anybody, do you think anybody in the establishment just said, well, this 45-year-old black man, he doesn't have nearly as much experience as the rest of us, and he's an outsider and a newcomer, but we're going to go ahead and just open the door and kind of let him have the most coveted position, in this country. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So he had to come in there and he had to take it. So if Trump is a bad example, I mean, and I have to give Trump credit in the sense that Trump, they didn't invite Trump into any of this. His own Republicans were like, get the hell out of here. But you know what he did? He found his base. He found his power, and he used his power to get what he wanted. And so for black people, whenever you decide, whenever some of y'all have already woke up. Some of y'all have already kind of decided what you want your future to look like. And I applaud you for that. And hopefully others will join you. But what I'm going to say is that, when I think about anything that I've ever gotten in life that meant sort of true power, like right now I have power partly because of the company I run and the reach that we have. There are a lot of people in the establishment who don't want me to have this power because I kind of call it like I see it, and it causes me to lose a lot of friends. I doubt if I have a lot of friends over at TV One and Radio One, because I had a problem with the fact that most of the conversations I heard from Roland and others centered around only one option for black people: voting for Hillary. That's it. There was no option to consider other parties. There was no option to consider third parties. There was no option to consider abstention. There was no option to consider Bernie Sanders. It was never laid on the table. And I personally feel that it's hard to argue. Again, me being an expert on money, I always follow the money. If you really want to understand how people think in America, just follow the money. And what I observed is, I said, I bet you that it's very difficult for these urban media outlets to really tell black people the truth and really help black people feel true freedom. They don't want to encourage true freedom with black people. It's very hard for them to do that when the Democrats are putting so much money into the radio stations' pockets. When the radio stations are spending millions of dollars in ad revenue to get black people to come vote for them, I'm like, how in the hell are they actually ever going to have an intelligent, logical conversation where you allow people to have access to all information? That form of corruption ultimately leads to extreme propaganda. So there's corruption on both sides. There's corruption on the left side. There's corruption on the right. There's probably corruption in the middle. And so I just really want people to have the truth. So I never told black people not to vote. I would never do that. I would never tell you what to do. If you follow me, you know that I've always rejected this idea that I'm some sort of leader who should tell you what to do. At best, maybe I'm a teacher. I'm a person who can teach you, concepts and information or ways of thinking or critical thinking analysis that might allow you to figure things out. Critical thinking skill is considered a dangerous thing in the black community, because we're not a community that's built on freedom. We actually are built on sort of demagogish leadership, where there's some pastor or some Umar Johnson type person, with an ego bigger than a fucking house, who tells you exactly what to do. And some people, because of fear, go back to fear. A lot of religion is held together by fear. Fear is huge. Hitler controlled people with fear, right? So because of fear, you just do what the person tells you, and you don't even try to even sort of challenge that, right? Like, what happens at church if you're questioning the faith too much? If you start questioning you start saying, well, you know what, I did my research and I looked at some of the stuff that's in the Bible, and it turns out that a lot of this stuff existed in Africa thousands of years before Jesus. So can you explain that, Pastor? Well, then they're going to start talking to you like you worship the devil. They're going to start putting you out. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. Again, fear. They're going to tell you that you're going to burn in hell, right? I mean, what more fear can I put in you than to let you know that if you keep on questioning this shit, you going to burn in hell for all of eternity? That's literally the scariest shit I can ever say to you, that will put you in line. And if you're not sure, if you're uncertain, if you have uncertainty drives fear. So when you feel that fear from uncertainty, you're like, my God, well, I guess I better go ahead and do what everybody else says, because I mean, all these other people can't be wrong, and I don't want to burn in hell, and I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to follow you. I'm just going to do what you tell me to do. See, black people, a lot of us are trained to operate based on fear because many of y'all were traumatized as children. Black people, black children, especially those who maybe don't have fathers around to protect them, things like that, are more likely to be traumatized, to be abused, molested, to endure the trauma of poverty, to endure the trauma of witnessing urban violence. A lot of our children grow up with post-traumatic stress disorder. So what happens is we grow up and we find whatever coping mechanism we can hold on to. It might be smoking weed every day. It might mean picking up the liquor bottle a little bit more than you have to. It might mean clenching onto your Bible for dear life. It might mean having your kids and becoming what I call a motheraholic. You ever see those motheraholics, like those mothers that because they're so scared of the trauma of life, they sort of hold on to their kids for dear life. So the son grows up and he can't never be a man because he has to be his mother's husband, and the daughter becomes the mother's best friend. And the mother, her excuse for not engaging the world is, well, I got to take care of my kids. I'm with my kids. I ain't got time for nothing else because I got to be with my kids. Well, sometimes that reaction is driven by trauma. It's driven by the fact that that the real world kind of scares you, and the only place you know you can be safe and secure and receive consistent love and validation without risk of losing it is from that baby. So at the end of the day, you see men and women cope with it in different ways. There's a reason that black women are the most religious group of people in America. I believe it's because they're also the most traumatized group of people in America. Also, they hold their religious faith together. This ain't no diss on the church. I'm not hating on the church at all. I have a lot of people in the church that I respect. I will never let anybody disrespect the black church. So let's not make it into that. But what I will say is that there is a reason why it's held, a lot of this is held together through peer pressure. Peer pressure. For example, one of my friends, Maria Lloyd, said that she decided to become an atheist. I was like, really? I'm not an atheist. I might be more agnostic or kind of Christian, a little bit. My daddy's a pastor. I believe that there is a higher power, but I'm figuring it out. I'm thinking it through. I'm trying to make a decision. I'm not going to let the pastor tell me what to think. I don't do that. And so, but anyway, she said she was atheist, and she said that her relatives talk about her like she's weird and that she worships the devil, that something's wrong with her. And I said, that's interesting. So, and here's the other thing. So whenever anything goes wrong in her life, whenever any little thing happens, whenever she, whenever she goes through a breakup or loses her job or gets a little sick or, or whatever, the first thing they say, well, the reason it happened is because you ain't been going to church. You ain't been praying. That's why it happened. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily wrong. I'm not saying there's not a place for religious faith, but I will say that there is a problem when a lot of faith is driven not by you, but driven by cultural habits that existed before you were born. When you are doing something not because you chose to do it, but you're doing it because somebody else chose for you and told you that that's what you needed to do, right? A lot of us do things every day because of what somebody else trained us to do. If you ask them, well, where did this begin? What day did you decide to start doing that? A lot of people can't answer that. They just be like, well, my mama told me to do it, so I started doing it. And I don't think you should live life based on what your mama tells you. Sometimes you got to stand up to your parents. I have to stand up to my parents. My parents disagree with me entirely when it comes to politics. They think that half of what I do is crazy. But I had to just kind of say, I love you, mama. I love you, daddy, but I'm going to be me. I'm going to have to be me. I can't really be nobody else. And I don't know if that makes you uncomfortable or not. But guess what? It's my life. It's my life. It's not yours. It's not yours. Remember I was telling you earlier, I was saying that, if you want to understand a lot of politics, just follow the money. America is a capitalist democracy. It is a capitalist democracy. And America is more capitalist than it is democratic. It's more capitalist than it is racist, sexist, homophobic, any of that other stuff. And one of the things that's really interesting, and this is why I think black people want to really think carefully about how we perceive the whole wealth building game, is that, these people that ran for president, these people, the person that got elected, none of these people could have been elected if it wasn't for the fact that they were able to get lots and lots of money. Money drives democracy. Democracy does not drive money. So, for example, you can't just sort of go to the polls and vote and get rich people to give away their money. It's just not going to work. It's really not going to work. So, at the end of the day, for black people, if you really want to talk about shaping your future and shaping your destiny, it really comes down to how you understand money, how you understand wealth, how you understand community building, how you understand circulating the black dollar, how you understand all of that. I don't know if anybody saw where the stock markets started acting crazy when Trump got elected. The market, I think the market started plummeting. The futures market, which predicts what the market's going to do the next day or in the future, started going crazy. And, and everybody sort of felt like it was Armageddon, that the world was coming to an end. And here's the thing. This is why it's important. We have basic classes that teach you how to invest, things like that. In Black Money 101, we talk about this a lot. And in the Black Wealth Bootcamp, we talk about this a lot. So let me tell you this. Look, last night, everybody thinks the world's coming to an end because the markets are plummeting because Trump got elected. I don't know if y'all saw the stock market today. But the stock market went up almost 300 points today. It went up almost 300 points. So, when somebody asked me last night, they said, well, Dr. Boyce, what should I do? I'm scared, the value of my 401k is dropping because Trump got elected and the world's coming to an end. This economy is going to crash. I said, no. Chances are The stock market will probably do what it's done all throughout history for the last 120 years. It's going to go down and then it's going to recover. So in my opinion, what I'm doing is I'm just going to buy more stock. I'm going to just keep buying, because if you look at the gap in wealth between the rich and the middle class, most of that wealth gap is driven by stock market participation. Those who participate in the stock market have more wealth than those who do not. And so, so if you look today, anybody who went ahead and bought stock when the market started dropping because Trump might get elected, if you bought stock, you probably made money today. So, I would just say that, that these are things that we got to understand as people. We got to understand how this game works. I'm not saying that Trump is a good president. I mean, I know why the market dropped. Remember, my dissertation, it's over here. It's 159 pages of research on stock markets. My dissertation, I studied stock markets intensely. I've analyzed literally probably trillions of bytes of data over time. And I can tell you that when it goes down, it usually comes back. It usually has what they call reversals. So when everything started going down because of Trump, I was like, wow, okay, let's buy some more stock. Chances are it'll probably reverse, and it reversed faster than I thought. So if you want to understand stuff like that, we talk about it in the blackwealthbootcamp.com. You can go check out theblackwealthbootcamp.com. Also, we have a class for beginners called blackmoney101.com. That's blackmoney101.com. You can get the first month free. And also, if you want your children to be in one of our wealth building programs, we start our Black Financial Leadership Program for children this Saturday. It's online. We meet with your child for 5 straight weeks. If they complete all the homework, we give them a certificate of completion. We teach them investing. We teach them money management. We teach them wealth building. We teach them entrepreneurship, all these things. So if you want to check it out, you can go to blackfinancialleadership.com. That's blackfinancialleadership.com. Somebody asked, is your dissertation available to the general public? Yes, it is. If you go to The Ohio State University, I'm sure they've got some archive somewhere where you can look up dissertations. I don't hide stuff like that. I don't care if people read work I've written. I don't even care if people read my articles I've written. I've been writing for the public since I was about 25 years old. I stand by everything I said, even things I said 20 years ago. If I said something stupid 20 years ago, then I'll just be honest and say, well, I said that and it was wrong and that was really stupid. I wouldn't say that now. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of times, again, that fear thing, I think if you have a fear of being embarrassed, then it makes you lie. It sort of makes you feel like who you are isn't good enough. So you kind of lie and you put on a facade. And, so for me, part of my self-love journey was learning how to not just love the good parts of myself, but to learn the bad parts too. Learn to love that too. And not to just love myself when I was on point, but to also learn to love myself when I wasn't on point, when I totally mess up. So the brother says, strictly for info, not to judge. Well, no, I didn't think you were judging. I don't know. I didn't really think about that, but I appreciate you saying that. But no, I didn't think you were judging. You have a right to see it. I mean, you have a right to review my credentials. In fact, I like that because it kind of helps separate people who don't want anybody to see their credentials. There's usually a reason for that, right? If somebody doesn't want you to know where they went to school, what they studied, who they studied under, what their degree is in, there's a reason for that, right? So somebody, I think Angie Tweets was asking, so you really have a doctorate? Yes. If you want to know my track record, I don't know. I think my bio might be on my website, boycewatkins.com. But if you want the short version of the story, my mother was 17 years old when she gave birth to me, and that's why I'm sensitive about abortion. I'm not pro-life or pro-choice per se. I guess I'm more pro-choice because I believe women should have the right to choose. I do believe the father should be involved in that decision, though. I don't like fathers' rights being stolen, just for the sake of giving rights to somebody else. I think that if you're carrying my baby, I have a right to have some say in what happens with the baby, because if that's the case, then if I don't have any rights to say what happens, whether there's an abortion or not, then you don't have the right to force me to pay if you choose to have the baby, right? So anyway, I say all that to say that I'm sensitive to that topic because my mother was 16 when she got pregnant with me, and she gave birth to me when she was 17. And she said flat out, if there had been an abortion clinic down the street that was giving away free abortions, you would not be here today, because I was so scared. Remember, back to fear. See, I think fear, you could literally write a whole 20 books on fear, because fear drives a lot of the decisions people make. The reason you stay in that bad relationship is a lot of times out of fear. The reason you keep that job that you hate, even though you're not happy, is a lot of times out of fear. A lot of us don't. There are a lot of decisions that we don't make, a lot of moves that we want to make that we don't make because out of fear. So fear, you can't let fear sort of be the boogeyman in your closet for your entire life, because it'll keep you from all your blessings. It'll block you from every opportunity you could ever have. So anyway, my mother said out of fear and out of what she was going through at the age of 17, she would have aborted me. And I was like, wow, that would have been a waste. Like, we've had a lot of fun over the last 45 years, and your financial problems only lasted another couple of years. And she's like, yeah, I realize that now. She said, but back then, when you're young and you're scared, you just don't know. So a lot of times, somebody said, what is the website for the kids class? It's blackfinancialleadership.com. That's blackfinancialleadership.com. Somebody type that in there too, so other people can see it. But anyway, so my mother gave birth to me, and she had to get out the house. I think my grandma told her to leave. She had to get out. If you're grown enough to be having sex and you're grown enough to take care of this baby. So we had to go live in the projects for a couple of years, and then we met the real man in my life, who was my father, who raised me since I was a baby, and that's what. And I love that guy because being raised by him. My dad is a real raw man, like a real strong Southern black man. He doesn't feel so. When I tell you I don't believe that I'm not very good at feeling sorry for myself, I get that from my daddy. I get that from my father. My father, if he had a motto in life, his motto would be just fucking do it. Just do it. Like when I asked him, I said, well, how did you quit smoking? Did you have to take Nicorettes? Did you have to wean yourself off the cigarettes? He said, no, I just stopped. And so my dad, he's a Vietnam vet. He was a cop too, and so my father just is a tough guy, and what I learned from that is mental toughness is everything, and that's why I feel sorry for all these boys that grow up without a daddy, because your male role model becomes your training manual on manhood. So if you are raising a son by yourself, and you're a woman, please stop thinking that you can just make him a man on your own. No, you need to get him a training manual. Get him in front of some strong black men that are going to teach him how to be a man, so that you're not preparing a little boy for somebody else. One day he's going to have to be the leader of a household. A woman is going to depend on him to come through for her. Children are going to depend on him to feed them. And if you let him, stay in diapers till he's 35, then he's going to be a real shitty man for somebody else. And so the same things you might complain about with men who won't grow up, some woman's going to have that same complaint, and it's going to be all your fault. It's going to be your decisions that led to him not being the man that he needs to be. So my father was a real man. He taught me how to be a man. I don't believe somebody said, somebody give this dude a hug so he can stop trolling. I didn't even notice. So anyway, so my father, but he was rough though. He wasn't like a touchy feely, easy dude. He made some mistakes. He wasn't a perfect father all the time, in a lot of ways, but I learned also through that life is not perfect. Life doesn't give you what you want all the time. You don't always get what you deserve. Life is not fair. Life is not fair. And the thing about it that I believe is that you have to have a determination to make it fair. You have to say, okay, well, I know y'all going to block me out. I know you're not going to treat me right. I know you're going to do me wrong. But I'm going to come in there and I'm going to make it fair. We're going to make this work. And so anyway, through those years, I was a horrible student in school. I struggled for the same reasons a lot of black boys struggle. I was being taught by a bunch of white women who didn't understand black boys, so they would put me in detention and try to put me on Ritalin and tell me I wasn't as smart as the white kids. The stuff that they do to pretty much every black child in America, which is why I tell black people to stop letting fear keep you from educating your own kids. Stop being scared of the fact that you somehow have been led to believe that only white people can educate your children, which is absolutely insanely sick. Why would would you hand your child over to the person who hates them the most, and then hope for the best, and then get mad when they screw your child up? Well, guess what? The system does that consistently. Is showing you in every way. It's like those relationships. You ever see those relationships where the man is like beating the woman's ass regularly and cheating on her regularly and disrespecting her regularly, and she somehow wants to believe that he loves her, even though everything he does is like a megaphone sending a message loud and clear. I hate you. I don't respect you. I don't love you. I don't like you. I think you're stupid. I'm going to exploit you. I don't have your best interest at heart. Right? But you see that, but they still like, no, he loves me. He just going through some things, and he just needs me to be the right kind of woman for him. And if I'm the right kind of woman, then he's gonna come around. No, he's not. It ain't gonna work. So my point of the matter is that's what white America does to you. They're looking at you like that relation. They're looking at you in this love affair that we have with white folks, and they're like, why won't you leave? Like, why do you insist on continuously coming back home every day? We hate you. We don't like you. We don't respect. Go the fuck back to Africa. Go build your own businesses. Stop begging us for a job. We don't want you here. And so I'm not saying that you don't have a right to what they have. I think if you want to go fight for it, go fight for it. Go if you want to vote for it, go vote for it. If you want to protest for it, go protest for it. But after you get done voting, protesting, filling out job applications, or telling white folks what they owe you, which they do owe you, absolutely, there's no question about it. Go figure out how to build something of your own so you can have true strength. People don't respect anybody who doesn't have something of their own. I mean, imagine somebody living in your house, eating your food every day, begging you for a place to live. Like, eventually you're going to lose respect for that person. You're going to be like, okay, wait a minute. You're here to take things, and I know that you're doing what you can, but why don't you go home? Ain't you got somewhere else to be? Ain't you got somewhere else to go eat? So for black folks, I think that's what's wrong with you. That you have been taught to believe that your job is to simply hope that white folks will take care of you. Period. I mean, seriously, if we're looking at the unemployment gap and we're looking at the troubles that black people have when it comes to wealth, unemployment, all these things, it baffles me that we truly believe that the solution to the unemployment problem for black people is to get white people to give us more jobs. By God, white people have to just give up the jobs. They got to get up off those jobs and give us more chances to come work for them. Are you out of your damn mind? I mean, do you understand? And I ain't the first person to tell you this. Malcolm said it a million times, and I know how frustrated I am. I can't imagine how frustrated Malcolm was, because the coonery was deep back in the 1960s. It was real deep in the 1960s. But Malcolm, would say to you, stop begging. Dr. Claude Anderson said it's criminal. He actually says it's downright criminal to send your child to people who hate them in order for them to survive every day. It's criminal to do that. So, so anyway, moving forward, let me finish telling the story. Somebody asked the background, and y'all didn't even ask all of this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, because I think it's important to know the background of the people that you might be listening to. And so I went through school. I was a horrible student in school. That's why you can't give up on your teenage son or your teenage daughter. They might be idiots while they're teenagers. Teenagers are insane. Teenagers literally, I did research on it, and I can tell you, teenagers are by definition, what do they call it? Not antisocial, but they're built to rebel. Basically, that's it. It was something like that. I can't remember the right term, but basically teenagers they're just naturally sort of like insane a little bit, like they're naturally rebellious. So you kind of have to fight through that. So for me, I didn't want to do the things my parents wanted me to do. Like, I didn't want to go to the Black Achievers. I didn't want to go study. I didn't see what school could do for me. It wasn't until I turned 18 and I had a baby. I met my first girlfriend. Again, because fear controlled my life. Going back to fear. Remember, we've been talking about fear this whole conversation. Fear, because my self-esteem was low and I was afraid to talk to girls. Nobody ever taught me how to do it. Fear kept me from pursuing what I wanted. I didn't date the girls that I really wanted to date. I dated girls who pursued me. My first girlfriend, who actually was the mother of my daughter, she pursued me. That's why I ended up dating her, and I look back on it and I say, my God, boys, you let fear cause you to miss out on opportunities, on chances to be who you wanted to be with. So she chose me. She was a beautiful woman, though. My daughter's a beautiful girl, but she gets it all from her mama. But Anyway, so I had a baby when I was 18, which scared the living shit out of me. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? How am I going to raise a baby by I don't know. I didn't know how to do it. But that's when I took education seriously. That's when I said, well, education is my way out. That's my pathway to avoid the things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be broke, and I didn't want to get punked. I didn't want anybody telling me what to do. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at being sort of ordered around. That's why even with the Democrats and all this stuff, I know you're not going to order me around. You're not going to. When I get on the phone with the guy from the Obama administration, I was like, no, I'm sorry. I don't know who you think you're talking to, but and I respect the president. God bless this brother. He's a brilliant man. But no, in my house, I'm the king. And so you're not going to come up in my space and tell me what your agenda is and what you need me to do to push forward your agenda to black people. If I don't believe in it, I'm not going to push it, because it's unethical for me to get black people to get behind something that is not going to help them. So anyway, long story short, I had a baby when I was 18. When I went to college, so the relationship with my daughter's mother didn't work out. It wasn't my decision. I loved her to death. I thought that girl was the greatest thing, God's greatest gift to all humanity. But people make decisions, and it is what it is. So I went to college and I started working really hard academically. Not because I thought I was smart, but because I knew that was my only option. I didn't have anywhere to go. My parents put me out of the house when I turned 18, which was good for me because it made me into a man. And so in college, it went really well, and it surprised me because I'd always thought I was dumb. I'd always thought I wasn't a good student. So I was really surprised at how easy college was when you put in the work. I was studying 5-6 hours a day, because I figured if I work 5-6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, I could study 5 hours a day. So when I did that, I ended up graduating. I was the Wall Street. Somebody says you should write an autobiography. I'm gonna wait until I'm a little older, or maybe let one of my kids write it, or one of my god kids write it. I don't want to write it now, because I feel like there's still more of the story to be told. But if the story helps somebody, then I'm okay with sharing it. And so, long story short, I ended up going to I graduated as a Wall Street Journal outstanding graduating senior. I had a triple major in finance, economics, and business management, where I got 2 bachelor's degrees in 4 years, and I worked a full-time job. My parents didn't send me money. They sent me 2 checks for $25 the whole 4 years I was in college. And so if you want to know kind of where my mindset comes from, it comes from the fact that I just really believe, again, because I was taught to be a man. And that's important. Make sure your sons are taught to be men. I was taught to be a man, and as a man, I just sort of felt that, it's my job to take care of me. It's not my parents' job. It's not, it's not somebody else's job. I'm not saying that you don't deserve resources from the government, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of things you can do in this country that will allow you to be successful. I refuse to believe that somehow that a community with $1.1 trillion in spending power is powerless. I refuse to believe that black people can't build whatever the fuck we want to build by pooling our resources. I refuse to believe that a community that has more wealth than most countries on this planet, there are entire nations, dozens of them, the majority of nations on this planet, that have less resources than you do. So stop telling me that we can't do nothing without white people. Stop telling me that we can't do nothing without government help. I'm not saying we don't deserve government help. I'm not saying that we aren't owed reparations. I'm just saying that reparations probably ain't coming in your lifetime. Or maybe they'll come when you're old. Maybe they'll come for your children, but I'm going to tell you what, when the reparations finally get here, it ain't going to be shit. It ain't going to be a whole lot. It ain't going to be what we really deserve. It's going to be crumbs. It's going to be literally a mild political concession designed to get you to shut up. That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be significant enough to make up for the trillions of dollars that were stolen from us, or the trillions of dollars in psychological, economic, educational, spiritual, physical damage that has been done to black people and black communities over the last 400 years. It's not going to be enough. Now, I'm not saying, again, go get it though. I mean, go vote, go, rally. Don't come up in here saying that I'm the guy who tells black people not to vote. No, I tell black people to think for themselves. And if you think, and remember, nobody Anybody who doesn't want you to have information, anybody who doesn't want you to think for yourself, that is not your friend. That person is not your friend. Let me give you an example. Did you know that black people, for all the Negro naysayers, actually, before I go into this, I want to remind you, if you want to know about our educational programs, go check out blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where you can find out about everything, our commerce network, where we actually allow you to partner with us and other black businesses that have products. You can sell them on your social media and get 30% of whatever you sell. So you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com and you'll find that information. You'll find out about the courses I teach, stuff we have for children, all of that. I can tell you this, we have Project 100,000 that we started, where our goal is to get 100,000 black children in some kind of program to learn how to become entrepreneurs or learn how to build wealth. If we get 100,000 black children in this generation to understand the fundamentals of wealth building, cooperative economics, and entrepreneurship, that first 50 to 100,000 will employ the next 50 million. So every black person isn't going to understand what I'm talking about, and that's okay. More black people are going to go and cry with Roland Martin this morning than there are that are going to listen to me. More black people are going to feel sorry for themselves than there are who are going to listen to me. I'm not for everybody. The same way a military person is not going to get everybody to be a soldier. I'm not saying now sometimes you have to be a soldier, but if it's a choice, most people would choose not to be soldiers. So the people I'm talking to are the true talented 10th, in the sense, not that you're better than other people, but you are spiritually mature enough to realize that you have the power to shape your life into whatever you want it to be. Those are the people I'm talking about. And what's going to happen is we will breed ourselves through our children. We will spiritually breed through our children a spirit of strength, a spirit of independence, a spirit of building, a spirit of cooperation, a spirit of development, so that when all the other Negroes think that lining up to vote for Hillary Clinton is going to save them, we will actually be building empires such that in 20, 30 years, our children will be able to go to that child whose parent never taught him how to start a business, the parent who never taught them the fundamentals of economic self-defense, who never taught them the fundamentals of economic survivalism. They're going to go to that child and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to judge you. I'm not dogging you. But if you need a job, come work with us. We got some over. We've built the village. We built the Black Wall Street. It's over here. It ain't over there. Because when I talk to most black people who work for racist white people, I don't have to talk them out of wanting to be on the corporate plantation. I don't have to convince them to want to leave. They all want to leave. The difference is that they are imprisoned by fear. Again, the word fear keeps coming up in this conversation. That's the theme of this whole discussion, right? Is fear, right? Most people really, they don't really want to do a lot of the things that they do. They don't want to go and line up all day to go vote for the Democrats. They do it out of fear of either a Trump presidency or fear that if they don't have the Democrats, they don't have anything. Or a lot of people don't want to go to that job every day, but they go to that job every day out of fear that if they don't do it, they're not going to be able to feed their kids, and they're not going to be able to take care of themselves, right? So fear, is I think just a very consistent theme. And what I find is that when you provide security, people go where there's security and where there's strength. So if you go over here and you build something powerful, then what's going to happen is those late adopters, that's what I call them, late adopters versus early adopters. Those late adopters, those people who are afraid, are going to look over and be like, oh, I want to be down with that because I don't like being over here anyway. It happened during the Obama presidency. Let me explain. When Obama first started running for office, black people did not vote for him. All these black people running around talking about how much they love Obama. Y'all didn't love that dude back in 2007, back when I endorsed him on CNN, back when I said, I think this guy might actually beat Hillary Clinton. I was crazy at the time because Obama only had maybe 10, 15% of the Democratic vote in the primaries. I said on CNN, go Google it, it's out there. I said that the minute Oprah has endorsed this guy, as articulate as he is, as charismatic as he is, as smart as he is, he's going to be a real threat to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is worried about this guy. I said that back when black people were not voting for him. Black people did not start, the majority of the masses, again, because so many of us think like sheep. We've spent our whole lives learning how to be hypnotized. A lot of it has to do with what happens in church every Sunday. There are techniques of hypnosis that pastors use, like, for example, repeating the same thing over and over again. playing the music, playing on your fears, things like that. They do these things to control your mind and hypnotize you. So black people are very vulnerable to various forms of hypnosis. So back at that time, what happened was these people did not start to gravitate over to Obama until Obama showed strength. When Obama went to Iowa and they said, shit, he got the white people in Iowa to support him. Oh, we're going to go vote for him. We didn't really want to vote for Hillary anyway. We just did it out of fear of the Republicans. So what I will say to you is that when you provide black people with a better alternative, when they see you and your children, it might not be you. It ain't going to happen in your life. You're not going to see everything. You're not going to see the greatness and the glory of what we're building. You're just not. It's going to happen with your children and your grandchildren based on the seeds you plant in this generation. So when the Negroes, when the sheep start to see what you and your children have built, when they see the empire, they're going to jump right on the bandwagon. They're going to go right towards it. And you're going to welcome them with open arms, because the goal is not to be judgmental of people who are paralyzed by fear. The only time I get mad at a black person for cooning, most of the time when it comes to cooning, I kind of feel like, well, I forgive them for they know not what they do, that kind of thing. The only time I get mad about cooning is when the coons get so empowered that they start to obstruct what strong black people are trying to do. When you start getting in the way, like when you start working for the enemy and you're getting in the way, like you're actively blocking progress, that's a problem. That means we're going to have to take you out with the massive. But beyond that, I kind of feel sorry for people that are scared. I feel sorry for people that woke up and are just afraid of the future. I do. I mean, I just want to encourage them and say, you're going to be all right. And if you really put your mind to it, you won't just survive. You might actually thrive. It's up to you to decide how that story is going to be written. So anyway, let me share this with you before I forget. You can my email address for those who want it. Feel free to email me if you want to. I don't know. People just have reasons they want to email, and that's fine. I get like thousands of emails every week, so please forgive me if I don't reply. I spend most of my time actually working. I have a lot of people that want to talk on the phone. I can't always talk on the phone because I'm literally working. I'm not sitting around just enjoying trying to be famous or something. I'm actually working on stuff. I'm writing things. I'm teaching classes. I'm really trying to do my part in what I consider to be the Black economic revolution. I am doing everything I can. I can't do everything perfectly. I don't have all the resources that I need to do everything I want to do. Eventually, we will have that. We will have a company that's grossing over $100 million a year before I'm done. But right now we're not there. Well, we have got to the point where we're able to raise over $1 million a year doing various things. And what we're trying to do is develop institutions. One of the things that we did this year that was very successful, and we're very happy about it, is we created the All Black National Convention. The All Black National Convention is the only convention out there such that we were able to have a nationally prominent platform and deny every penny of corporate sponsorship whatsoever. We did this ourselves. We used our own money. We raised our money in the community, and we had a convention where black people could say what needed to be said, and you didn't have to apologize for shit. You don't have to apologize for anything. You don't have to be afraid. Well, my God, Walmart's our keynote sponsor. So if we say anything about Walmart, they're going to get upset with us and cut our funding. That's what you see, unfortunately, in a lot of other conventions like the Congressional Black Caucus. They got corporate sponsors everywhere. You can't offend corporations at the CBC. If you go to the NAACP Urban League events, same thing. That's why Farrakhan in his speech the other day was talking about trying to liberate the NAACP, because unfortunately, money has become a golden handcuff for the NAACP. Money becomes a handcuff, number one, when you need it, and number two, when you become addicted to it. Those are two things. So the best way to become free when it comes to money, to become financially free, is number one, make sure you got enough money to have what you need. Number two, let go of your addiction and your need for money as a way to validate you, to make you feel comfortable or whatever. Some people can get by and be happy with maybe $30,000 a year. Some people need $300,000 a year to even feel remotely comfortable. So that person in that higher category is going to end up becoming more of a slave to the dollar bill, because their tolerance level for that drug of money is much, much higher. It's like somebody who needs a little coffee to stay awake versus somebody who needs to smoke, 10 grams of crack. It's like two, different levels of commitment and necessity when it comes to Black financial addiction. And that's what I call it. That's the term that I just like to use. I just sort of came up with it because I think it's appropriate for what we talk about. Let me see. So don't forget the URL, blackfinancialliteracy.com. If you want to learn more about our programs, feel free to go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. And our Black Money 101 class, in Black Money 101, the first month is free. So you can try it out, see if you like it. If you want your child to be in a wealth building program and you don't have that much money, you can try out our program, our introductory program at blackfinancialsuperstars.com. That's blackfinancialsuperstars.com. The first month is free. It doesn't cost you more per month than a trip to Applebee's. It doesn't cost more than a trip to the movies. In fact, you can't even go to the movies with the amount that it would cost to be in the program. The difference, though, is that by giving your child the basics at an early age, you are literally shifting the trajectory of their life for the next 40 years. You're also shifting the trajectory of not just their life, but of the children that they have, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. Because when you change the culture in your household, you're not just changing what's happening now, you're changing what's going to happen for the next 100, 200 years. You're shifting traditions. So for kids, somebody asked, can you repeat the website? For kids, it's blackfinancialsuperstars.com. That's blackfinancialsuperstars.com. For adults, it's you can just go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. Blackfinancialliteracy.com. And I know that people you hear me repeat this stuff like a parakeet, and I do because I believe that for all the money that we spend with white folks buying stupid stuff, we should probably commit ourselves to investing in our education. It's one thing if I was trying to sell you cigarettes and liquor. I'm not. I'm selling you knowledge and information. I'm also a person who is uniquely equipped to help you understand how the economic game is played in America at the highest levels. I'm a person who, after teaching finance to college students for 23 years, I can tell you why Black people are left behind economically. It's not rocket science. It's really not. It's really not. It's only complicated to people who don't understand how capitalism and money work. That's why I was messing with my good friend Yvette Carnell. I love Yvette. Yvette's website is breakingbrown.com. Y'all should support her, by the way. She's a good lady. I love her to death. But it's funny, when we start talking about the wealth thing, I'm like, Yvette, I'm sorry, but, I understand money at a microscopic level. Meaning, if you go to an MBA program at Harvard University and they teach you equations in terms of how money grows and how compound interest works, I don't just know those equations. I actually know how to mathematically derive those equations, and I know where those equations come from. I know how to sit down and do the math to show you how to create that equation. When you talk about Wall Street and all the problems that happened on Wall Street, that when the economic downturn occurred, many of those theories that people leaned on to that caused the economy to crash, I know those theories because I know the people that derived those theories. We were reading those research papers all through graduate school. So because I understand it in a way that a lot of people don't, the gap for Black people is very simple in my mind. It's very simple, and it can literally be obliterated with very basic, very constructive actions, such that if I could convince 10 million Black people to do exactly what the fuck I say on this, we would literally eliminate the entire wealth gap in a generation or two. We would literally go from being the people that everybody feels sorry for and looks down on to being the people that everybody looks up to and wants to emulate. Very, very basic. I told you, I can show you with an equation that we have a video called How to Buy Your First Share of Stock in 10 Minutes or Less, or something like that. And that's the first thing you get when you sign up at theblackbusinessschool.com. We give that video away for free. It doesn't cost you anything. And we always like to show value before we ask you to pay for anything. We have to ask you to pay eventually because I have Black people that work for me and they can't eat oxygen for dinner. We actually feed Black families with the money that we make. So stop complaining that it's not free. Just go take your Jordans back to the store and put it into your kids. Kids are more important than Jordans. And basically the thing that I have shown parents mathematically, very, very simple, is that, straight up, very basic. If you put $100 a month, my son David, who is he's my adopted son, not my blood son, but I love him to death. I told him, we were talking about when he has a child. I said, look, when you have a child, here's what you do. Make sure that from the time the baby's born, even before the baby's born, buy the baby at least $100 worth of stock every month. Pick any stock that you want. It doesn't matter which stock you pick. And in 30 to 40 years, your child will have $300,000 to $400,000 in liquid wealth available to them to do whatever they want. I said, now, if you're serious, though, if you really want your child to get ahead, don't do $100 a month. I said I pick $100 because there are so many black people who don't believe in themselves, who really think black people can't do anything without white people's help, who think that we are literally handicapped, that they give me pushback. They'll be like, well, Dr. Boyce, everybody can't afford to put $200 in or whatever. So what I do is I set it at $100 so nobody can complain, because I know people that spend $100 a month at Starbucks. And I said, but if you're serious, don't do $100 a month. Do $300, $400, $500 a month. The average car note is $518 a month. Isn't your child worth a car note? Isn't your child's future worth a fucking car note? So if you do it that way, if you do $400, $500 a month, just pick any stocks. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. You can randomly pick. They did the experiment with blindfolded monkeys. If you pick any stocks, they literally did the experiment with blindfolded monkeys. Blindfolded monkeys literally could apply this strategy and become millionaires. That's how simple it is, because you live in the richest country in the world. Let's stop pretending like black people can't do nothing for themselves. Basically, in 30 to 40 years, your child will be a millionaire. Or either they will be a millionaire or they'd be very close. Based on the history of the stock market, this strategy could be applied in any generation in American history. If you did it in 1910 and your parents, let's say your parents did it, or your great-grandparents did it from 1910 to 1940, they'd be millionaires. If they did it from 1950 to 1980 or 1985, they would be millionaires. If they did it from, say, 1980 to 2010 or 2015, you'd be millionaires. So stop thinking that somehow to be wealthy, you got to be lucky. No, in America, you can be wealthy by simply being disciplined and by being smart on where you put your resources. And let me just say this. Black people have 1.1 trillion in spending power. Did you know that 1.1 trillion in spending power exceeds the GDP of Israel, Hong Kong, Venezuela, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Norway, Austria, Thailand, Iran, Nigeria, Poland, Belgium, Sweden, Taiwan, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, Turkey, the Netherlands, Indonesia, Mexico, Spain, Australia, and Russia. Did you know that? Should I continue? Let me just keep going. Sri Lanka, Ukraine, Slovak Republic, Angola, Sudan, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, Morocco, Kuwait, Hungary, Kazakhstan, Iraq, Qatar, Algeria, New Zealand, Peru, Romania, Czech Republic, Greece, Vietnam, Portugal, Bangladesh, Chile, Finland, Colombia, South Africa, Pakistan, Singapore. Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Now, I'm not sitting out now comparing GDP to income. There's, fuzzy reasons why it's a little bit of an apples and oranges comparison, but the basic premise is the same. The premise is the same. When your spending level exceeds the GDP of entire nations, then that pretty much means that you have something to work with. If Venezuela can build wealth, then so can you. If Denmark can build wealth, then so can you. If Israel can build wealth, so can you. Hong Kong, Egypt, Norway, if all those countries can build wealth, then so can you. So stop thinking that you are handicapped. You ain't handicapped. Now, somebody mentioned that the stock market's manipulated. Yeah, it's manipulated to some extent, but the manipulation is not enough it doesn't mean a lot of people ain't making money. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars from the stock market. Okay, the manipulation didn't steal my money. You put your money in there and you let it grow. And the reason it's important to teach your kids, I'm not just talking about you. It ain't just about you. It's about your children. The reason it's important to teach your kids is because little things you teach your children at an early age shape how they make every other decision. So what happens? So here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you, my grandmother. I talk about my grandmother in the film. We just released the film. Actually, today's the release date. Tomorrow, called The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence. You can watch the trailer at blackfinancialintelligence.com, blackfinancialintelligence.com. And I talk about my grandmother for two reasons. One, she died in 2013. I loved her to death. She was my best buddy. And talking about her keeps my grandmother alive. Every time I talk about her, I feel like she's right in the room. Number two, the reason I talk about my grandmother is because my grandmother was, she used to, when I was a kid, for Christmas, she would buy me toys, but she also bought me savings bonds. She was the first person to buy me savings bonds. And I didn't understand what savings bond was. I didn't understand how that worked. And I remember that my grandmother buying me those savings bonds was my first introduction to compound interest. That was my first introduction to the idea that money is more than just something that you spend to buy shoes. Money is something that can actually grow and make you more money. So when people talk about this idea of your money working for you, my grandma was the one who showed me that. I was like, wait a minute, you mean if I spend $50 on this bond and I just hold it, in so many years it'll be worth 100? Are you kidding me? And then I started studying money deeper. I majored in finance in college. I got a PhD in finance, and I've taught finance to college students at 5 universities over the last 23 years. And I also taught it in China and Europe as well. And so I read something that Einstein said. Einstein, who came up with the theory of relativity, he was actually more fascinated with compound interest than he was with astrophysics in some ways. Einstein actually said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He said, he who understands it will earn it. He who does not understand it will pay it to the people who understand it. So the question is your child going to understand compound interest, or are they going to be somebody who ends up paying it to people who understand it? Are they going to be the person who's making money because other people are throwing their money away? Or are they going to be the person who's giving away all their money and then wondering why they feel so oppressed? Period. So, anyway, teach your kids. Teach them something different. And I'm sorry for anybody who gets mad at me. I'm not good at feeling sorry for myself. I can't hardly sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing" when I go to events. They start singing "Lift Every Voice and Sing," and don't get me wrong. I respect my ancestors. Totally. And without them, we would not be where we are. But I hate the lyrics of that song sometimes because it's so depressing and it's so what's the word? It's so built on kind of victimhood. It's built on just surviving. It's not built on fighting back. It doesn't speak of who's actually causing the torture that you're going through. It doesn't speak on how to, on the strength of being black and literally, claiming your destiny. Let me read the lyrics to "Lift Every Voice and Sing," and I want y'all to just analyze the lyrics. Again, this is where my critical thinking gets me in trouble. When I was a little boy, my mama used to say, "Boy, your mouth will either make you great or get you killed." I'm curious to see which one, but I can't help it. I got to tell the truth based on how I see it. I'm not saying I'm right, but I do have a right to my truth. So this song, it was written in James Weldon Johnson. He died in 1938, so he had a whole different point of view. So I'm not dissing him at all. Maybe if I'd lived in that time, I would have written a similar song. I don't know, or I would have had the same kind of mindset. But listen to the lyrics. I want to go through the lyrics. "Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring." So that's the first religious reference. So there's religious references everywhere. Because black people, unfortunately, religion has been used to hypnotize us and to kind of enslave us. But it can also be used to liberate us, which is why I'm not completely against it. "Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us." So it's kind of talking about, this dark past, and now the future is happening, and we're living on hope and we're living on faith. That's why when Obama ran for president, he deliberately used the term hope and change, because hope and change is because black people can be fed hope. A lot of times in church, every Sunday, the pastor gives you hope, you give him money. He's like, "I give you the afterlife, you give me money," right? And I think that's an interesting exchange. It's actually a slightly unfair exchange if you look at it in a certain way, in the sense that you're not really receiving. He's receiving real economic value. You're receiving emotional value. You're receiving a coping mechanism that allows you to simply survive the pain that you're living through every day. So let's see. Facing the rising sun, a new day's begun. We shall march on till victory is won. So black people have been marching for hundreds for I don't know how long. Marching doesn't do a whole lot of anything. It draws attention to things, right? So marching isn't always a waste, but marching ain't the solution to nothing. But we kind of I have this habit of doing this. Facing the rising sun, again, new days begun. So hope, again, it's always so everything's built on hope, and that's what Democrats do. Democrats know that if you feed black people hope, then black people don't expect you to actually give them anything right now. Just defer, delay, right? Give them so much, feed them so much hope and delay, that ain't even a word, hope and delay that you can even delay hope to the afterlife. Like your life now is going to be horrible, but when you die, it's going to get better. That's what Massa did. That's what Massa Hillary did. That's a trend that continues because it works so very well because you've been trained to accept this. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod. So we're now reflecting on the horrible experiences that we've had as black people, right? We're reflecting on this. Now, mind you, notice in this whole song, they don't mention where it's coming from. We've always had a fear of really speaking the truth, saying white people did this shit. White people, y'all are the ones who mistreated us. But our fear of white people is so great that we won't even say that word. We won't even say the white man. We won't even talk about what white Americans have collectively done to black people because we're scared, right? I mean, for good reason. We work for them. We many of us depend on them. They educate our children. We need their validation in order to feel good about ourselves. If white folks blackball you from an industry, then you ain't gonna get another job if you don't know how to create a job, right? When I was in academia and I was speaking all this pro-black stuff, white folks, they blackballed the shit out of me. Syracuse is going to get rid of me. A lot of white universities across the country would not hire me. The only thing that saved me was I said, I said, fuck you. I worked too hard for this PhD. You're not going to kill my ability to be a teacher. So I started learning technology. I started learning how to start a business. And for me, it wasn't a matter of trying to get rich. It wasn't a matter of trying to blow up. It was a matter of survival at that point. I was like, holy shit. If I don't learn how to start a business as a black man, I am going to be royally fucked. I'm going to be in deep crap. I'm gonna stop cussing. I'm sorry, I can't help it, but it just happens. Again, I get that from my daddy too. He cusses like a sailor. But I saw as a black man having my own business as a key to my freedom. That's why I tell you that no black man in America, if you know a black boy anywhere who has not been taught how to start a business, go talk to his parents or go talk to him and somehow find a way to make sure he learns the basics of starting a business. Nobody's more unemployed in this country than the black male. So the black male, unfortunately, it's crazy that you're taught to go beg white people to give you jobs when they're not giving you jobs. When you're more unemployed than everybody else, they're completely mistreating you, but you're depending on these people. So anyway, let's go back through the lyrics. Let's keep going. Okay. So listen to this. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way with tears that has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. So basically, it's like, look at what we done been through. It's been horrible. Woe is me. It's so hard to be black. It's a terrible thing. Some boogeyman. We're not talking about who did it. We're not gonna mention who actually did it. But the boogeyman has mistreated us. And the best we can do is march on till victory is won, which means that we're just going to survive all of this because we have hope and faith, which keeps us marching. But when really the truth is maybe you need to pull a switchblade out your goddamn pocket and go back and stab the motherfucker who did that shit to you in the first place. And I didn't mean to cuss that much, but it's the honest to God truth. There is something to be said about dealing with people who mistreat you. There's something to be said about being okay with being an angry black man or an angry black woman. What in the hell is this about forgiving? Y'all remember when Dylan Roof went up in that church and shot up all them black people? And you had all them coons in the damn courtroom breaking their neck, trying to beg for forgiveness or give him forgiveness, throwing forgiveness. We forgive you, Dylan. We forgive you. People look at you like you are crazy. They look at you like you're insane. They're like, what is wrong with these people? How can you forgive somebody that came in and just slaughtered all of y'all? Now, you can, if you want to forgive him quietly in prayer when you by yourself, that's fine. But don't be doing it in public. Like, who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to impress when you're out in the courtroom screaming forgiveness to Dylan Roof, a man who just slaughtered a bunch of innocent people in one of your churches? Who are you trying to? You're trying to impress white people. You're trying to let white people know that you are so kind, that you're so loving, you have so much dignity and peace and love in your heart that somehow they're going to let you in and let you assimilate peacefully into their society, when the fact is that they've rejected you every step of the way. So let's keep going. We have come over a way with tears that have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. So again, we're coming out of the dark into the lightness. The bright star is out there, so we're feeling inspired because we have hope. And then you go back to the references of God. We've leaned heavily on a higher power to give us an emotional coping mechanism to deal with the fact that we're going through all this abuse, in which the best thing we can hope for is to simply survive it. That's the thing. Black people are the ultimate survivors. If we were on the TV show Survivor, we would win every damn week, because we know how to survive the absolute worst, the worst torture known to man, and we take pride in that. We take pride in kind of relishing on how horrible our condition is. We don't ever really point the finger at white folks because we're scared to make them mad. We don't really talk about what we can do on our own because we feel that our situation is out of our control. In fact, that's why so many black people are depressed. Go read Terry Williams' book, Black Pain, and she talks about how many black women are just literally walking around super depressed, functionally depressed. And a lot of it's because they just sort of don't feel like they have any power to change the situation. Studies show that one of the quickest ways to feel depression, or one of the greatest causes of depression, is the inability to control your environment. So for us, we're in this torture chamber created by this unknown force, this force that we refuse to mention in church because we don't want to say their name because they might get mad at us. We're leaning on the higher power to help us cope, and the best thing we know how to do is just to survive and just hope that nothing horrible happens until we die. We're not used to thinking enthusiastically or proactively about what we're capable of accomplishing. And people who don't think enthusiastically and proactively don't usually plan for the future. You're so busy surviving from day to day that you're not thinking about what you're going to build 20 years from now. You're so busy figuring out a way to survive in the middle of the mud that you're not thinking about how you're going to get out of this shit. You're so busy thinking about how you're going to make it through this horrible, wretched life to get to your afterlife that you're not planning for the real afterlife, which is the life that exists after you're gone and that your children are going to have to endure. Now, if we're going to talk about the afterlife, let's talk about the real afterlife that we really know about. Maybe there's a heaven. Maybe when you die, you'll go to a magic land full of jelly beans and naked women and roads paved with gold and all this happiness that you... I don't know. Maybe your Forrest Whitaker eyes going to be healed and your leg will grow back, whatever it is, and your diabetes will go away and you get to see Cousin Pookie and then when you go to heaven. I hope that that's true. I really do. I really hope that when you die, that there's a beautiful afterlife and you can go kick it with Tupac and Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King and Sammy Davis Jr. and have a big party. I hope that that's what happens in the afterlife. But here's your problem. There is no tangible proof of anything that happens after we're gone. We don't know. Now, your pastor will tell you, well, no, I know because I know in my heart. No, he don't know because he ain't never been dead. He ain't never been to heaven. He ain't never been to the afterlife. He knows because somebody else told him something. He knows because it's in a book that was written by men. The book was written by men, and if you really go do the research, you'll find that much of what's in the Bible was stolen from Africa. They're like, wait a minute, there's this text that's 3,000 years older than the Bible, but it contains all the same verses and the same stories and the same characters. But no, it ain't no coincidence. They would go to Africa to get knowledge. When Europeans and whatever, when other people were struggling, when they were living in caves and could barely get by, Africa had the knowledge. Africa had the wealth. Africa had all the things they wanted, so they went to Africa to get those things. You are the birthplace of all knowledge, of all greatness. I mean, the black woman really is the mother of the earth. That's why you can't go around calling yourself pro-black and be disrespecting black women. What's wrong with you? That's crazy. That's insane. You don't do that. The black woman, ultimately, in her essence, as an entirety, she truly is the sun god and the birth of everything. Even the Donald Trumps have to give some sort of allegiance to the black woman because that's where it all began. So here's the thing. Going back to the afterlife. We don't know what the afterlife really is. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't. But let me tell you this. I do know about this afterlife. I do know one thing that is 100% true that I can prove with complete empirical evidence about your afterlife. Here's what I can prove to you. When you die, the world's going to keep spinning. Black people will continue to exist because they can't kill us. They've been trying to kill us for hundreds of years. It ain't worked. Your children and grandchildren will still exist, and they will probably still have to endure racism that is similar to the racism that you've had to endure in your life. That afterlife, I can guarantee you, is going to happen because I can prove it. The question is, are you going to plan for the afterlife? Are you going to at least make sure that when you die that you got life insurance so you can pass some wealth to your kids so they don't have to struggle? Or are you going to teach your children things that they're going to need to know to survive in this society that hates them? Are you going to teach them how to build what they need when the world doesn't give them what they need? Or are you going to spend so much time struggling and surviving day to day that you don't make any plans for the future? You don't make any plans for the afterlife? Are you going to spend all your time feeling sorry for yourself to the point where you don't think about any way that you can actually solve the problem? Are you going to spend more time being mired in the problem than you spend being inundated in the solution? It takes just as much energy to continuously tell me why black people can't do something as it does for you to tell me why black people can do something. It drives me crazy. The Negro naysayers really just infuriate me because I'm like, my God, you nigger, you are literally engaging in the most complex psychological acrobatics known to man to convince me and explain to me why black people are incapable of building anything on their own. What is wrong with you? You are a genius right now when it comes to telling me all the reasons why, all the ways that black people will never be able to do nothing without white people's permission, without white people's help, without white people's support, without white people's forgiveness, without white people's acceptance, without white people's money. What is wrong with you? I'm not having that conversation with you. That is not a beneficial discussion. When Hurricane Katrina hit, and all those people were dying in Katrina, there were people who were sitting around praying to Jesus. There were people getting mad at the politicians. There were people talking about what happened. When there were some people who said, no, we need to go down there and get those people out. We need to send food. We need to send buses. We need to send supplies. We need to get help for those people. So while you over here talking about the situation and talking about what can't be done, there are people that are saying, look, let's talk about what can be done. Let's talk about what can be built. So my feeling is, and this goes back to what I was saying about the song Lift Every Voice and Sing, and why it drives me crazy, is that there are consistent themes. I can keep going down this song. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears. So it's all very depressing, right? We're weary, we're crying, and we need God. So we're leaning on God because we're scared of the white man. The white man's the bully. So there's a big, powerful, super bully God that will come in and protect us from the white man so that we don't have to take the burden of actually fighting back ourselves, right? Thou who has brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from our places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to God, true to our native land. So again, there is something to be said. There is something to be admired about the sort of rugged determinism that leads you to say, no matter what I've gone through, I'm going to survive. I'm going to keep going. Good for you. God bless. That's a wonderful thing. The ability to survive is an important skill to have in this world. But then there must be a point where you say, I'm tired of just surviving. I'm tired of just getting by. I'm tired of letting you kick me in the head and then being proud of the fact that you didn't kill me. I'm not doing that no more. We're not playing that game no more. I'm not sitting next to the white man and saying, my God, I'm so proud that I get to just sit next to you. And I'm so glad I survived all the tyranny that you put on me. No, there's a point where I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to compete with you. I'm going to build something better than you. I'm going to make sure my children are prepared to withstand anything that you might try to do to him. I'm going to make sure my children are prepared to fight back. I'm going to make sure that my son is a man and can stand on his own 2 feet. I'm going to make sure my daughter is a strong black woman that is capable of defending herself intellectually, financially, spiritually, and otherwise. You are not going to bully my people. That's not going to happen. So long story short, let's just be free. Let's just be free. Sometimes the worst experiences in your life where you really feel like you hit rock bottom, that is the time where you find out who you are. And that is also the time where you decide who you're going to be. That at least that's the way it was for me. If I had not hit rock bottom, I never would have soared to the highest heights. When I hit rock bottom, when I was 28, when I was driving across the country, because I had nowhere to live and I had everything I owned in that van and my basketball on the dashboard, And I lost everything. I lost my relationship. I lost my money. I lost my scholarship. I lost my place to live. I didn't have nothing. That was when I grew into the person that I am now. And if I had not gone through that, there are a whole chain of events that never would have occurred where I would be frustrated right now. I would be under somebody else's oppressive regime right now. I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I'd be too scared to say half of the shit that I just said during this podcast. And so in a way, I look back on that and I say, my God, I'm so thankful that I hit rock bottom. And I'm so thankful that I made that decision to decide that you're not going to oppress me. People can't oppress you unless you give them permission. They can't hold you back unless you decide to submit to their oppression. And so, I would just tell you that in your darkest moments, that's when you achieve your greatest victories. Since that moment, since I had hit that rock bottom, that low in my career where I didn't know how things were going to work out, I am more successful than every single person that I went to school with. I am more successful than every single professor I ever had. I have made more money than them. I have achieved more so-called, fame and than they have. If that matters to you, I don't care about that stuff. I have had more of an impact than they will ever have in 10 lifetimes. By going back and accepting who I was and going back to my people, I realized my strength is in my people. My strength was not leaving my people and going to the suburbs. My strength was going back to my people because those are the people who can understand me. I can't say this stuff in the middle of a bunch of white folks and have them not kick me out of the room. The last time I spoke to a bunch of white bankers, had 5 to 10 of them left the room before I even got 10 minutes into my speech because I started talking about reparations. So there's places in this world I will not be accepted, but there are also places in this world where I will be loved. And that is where my strength is. But if you don't love yourself, then you can't love your own people because you see your own people, you're going to be trying to get away from them. So run back to your people, close ranks, set up shop, start building, be proud of what you got, and stop being scared of Donald Trump and whatever happened in this stupid election. In the next election, vote for whoever you want to vote for. I don't care. But after you get done voting, go fight just as hard to build the future of your community. Build something for the afterlife. The afterlife is when you and I are gone and our children are facing the same demons that we're facing right now. Are they going to win the battle or are they going to be handicapped? Much of it comes down to where you're positioned before the day you're born. The reason that Donald Trump was able to win that election is not because of things that he did. It's because of what his father did for him before he was born. His father positioned him as a leader in the city of New York at a very early age. If you look at Donald Trump, and I'm not admiring this guy at all. I don't like the guy. I don't like him. But I'm just spitting it as I see it. You look at him. He had his children around him. What's his son's name? His son's name was Barron. Barron. Fucking Barron. What does that mean? Let's look up what a baron is. Let's Google that. I'm gonna look up the word baron. A baron is a member of a foreign nobility having a rank. It says similar to a baron, a person who held lands or property from the sovereign or a powerful overlord. So when you name your children, when you give your children names, even the names you give them shape their destiny. That's why conscious black people, intelligent black people I know, name their children things like king or queen or princess, because you want your child from the very beginning to know that you ain't nobody's victim. You're not, a child growing up with a name like Barron, who's got a father who's as cocky as Donald Trump, who's got some wealth in his pocket and an education from the best schools, is never going to go through life feeling like he can only do stuff when people allow him to do it. So I'm not admiring Donald Trump at all. I'm telling y'all to peep out the game. In this world, in this competitive world, there are people who get what they want and there are people who pray for what they want. So which group are you going to be in? But I'm not saying you shouldn't pray. Go pray. But after you pray, you got to get out there and play. You play the game at the highest levels. That's how you win. I'm going to go. It's time for me to go eat. If you want to know more about our programs, write down this URL, blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. our new film, The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence, has been released. You can find out and watch the trailer at blackfinancialintelligence.com. That's blackfinancialintelligence.com. Please write that down. Somebody type it in for me if you don't mind. Also, if you want to check out a lecture I did recently on the rules of economic self-defense, you can actually go to economicselfdefense.net. That's economicselfdefense.net, and check that out. So we got a lot of stuff for you. We have tools in place. They don't cost much. But let's go win this fight. Ain't nobody scared of Donald Trump. He can do what he gonna do. We gonna do what we gonna do. I'll talk to you guys soon. You have a wonderful day. Love you. Peace.